When I think of a hot hatch, I think of a fiery front-wheel drive beast with a lot of power, a turbocharged four-cylinder, and fantastic handling. It's this! The Hyundai Kona N, Hyundai's hot hatch in drag. No, I don't want to say drag. Hyundai's undercover hot hatch. That's better. So this one in particular is a 2022 Kona N in lunar white. It kind of makes it look like a stormtrooper because of the split headlight design. And a lot of people are doing this, but full LED headlights and full LED taillights. So there's a plethora of things that make your Kona N a little bit nicer than a Kona N line. First of all, it's clearly a lot more aggressive looking with the red stripes and the big 19-inch wheels. They're actually wrapped around Pirelli P0 summer tires. So we're just on the brink of having no traction. But speaking about traction, Hyundai added an electronic LSD. Hyundai calls it the eLSD. But what powers this thing is a 2-liter turbo, which is a pretty fiery engine. You'll find it in the Kona N like this, the Elantra N, and previously the Veloster N. But rest in peace to the Veloster because that's dead. That also reminds me of the brakes. They're not Brembos on the ends, but they have been upgraded. 14.2-inch rotors in the front and 12.2-inch rotors in the back, so it does have some stopping power. I was also surprised by Hyundai adding adaptive dampers to the Kona N because something at this price point kind of impressive to me, and they work pretty well. This thing does ride pretty stiff, but you can notice a difference. Another little Easter egg for the Kona N is this triangular third brake light, which is only available on the Kona N. You also get an active exhaust, which sounds really good. Let's play it right now. And because it's sporty looking, this spoiler is also new and also a rear diffuser. But something that surprised me while I was washing this is I don't know if it's supposed to do that, but the MSRP for this one in particular is a hair over $35,000, which honestly isn't much of a bad deal for the amount of performance that you get. But let's talk about why I think this is a hot hatch. So under the hood of this little Korean beast is a 2-liter dual overhead cam and turbocharged 4-cylinder. It makes 276 horsepower and 289 pound-feet of torque. Pretty healthy numbers because this thing is only 3,300 pounds. And for once in our lives, we're actually allowed to touch a red button because that red button on the steering wheel gives you an extra 10 horsepower for 20 seconds. Gimmick or not, it's kind of cool that we can touch the red button. It's paired to an 8-speed dual clutch transmission and it uses wet clutches instead of dry clutches so it can stay cooler longer while you're thrashing this thing. 0 to 60 for this is just around 5 seconds. As far as MPGs are concerned though, Hyundai claims 20 in the city, 27 on the highway, and 23 combined. Now, in the few moments that I have been driving this thing regularly, you know, in more of an NPC mode, I have seen 20, so it's not bad, but what cripples this thing is how small the tank is, only 13 gallons, so that tank does run out pretty quickly. Now this is also why I'd call this a hot hatch, the size of the trunk. I mean, I think an Elantra N's trunk is bigger than this, because with the second row seats up, you get about 19 cubic feet of volume, which, it's not bad. You know, you could fit a few backpacks and maybe one adult body back here, but it's not huge. And then up to 45 cubic feet with the 60/40 seats folded flat. This doesn't surprise me, but there's no spare tire, and I'm assuming that's because of weight. And you know, I won't fault this car because it's a performance car. You don't need a spare tire. You can suffer because you have the power of this car. You can suffer. You can suffer. And of course, no towing with this. I would not tow with this, but kind of practical. I would put a roof rack on this if this was mine. I think it would look kind of athletic and aggressive looking. Another place that you really notice the hit from this being a subcompact crossover or a kind of slightly larger hatchback is the rear seat. But actually, now that I'm sitting here, I'm actually kind of surprised because I'm 5'9". The driver's seat is in my position, how I would sit. And I actually have an inch or so of leg room. I could fit my feet under this seat. My knees are at a great height. The center the exhaust tunnel, the center hump isn't that bad either. There's not many amenities back here. You do get a center armrest with 2 cup holders, and then there's one lone USB port and a place where it looks like I could put my phone. So not bad, but there's only one map pocket back here, and there's a lot of little things that you can tell that Hyundai did to save money in some places and put them in other places. Now, this is the seat that I'm most excited about. Listen to that, actually. N mode. Sounds pretty good, but we can chill in eco. Now I have to say I was surprised with some of the material choices in here. Everything looks good, but you know, once you start touching things, they don't bother me because I drive 20-year-old Toyota Tacoma and Honda Passport, you know, plastic everywhere, but this looks nice and it still feels nice and nothing rattles or creaks in here. So build quality is pretty good. But looking at the wheel, it's a 3-spoke leather wrap wheel with blue stitching on it. I like the wheel on this car. It's not heated, but you have great paddles that are very clicky, very responsive. There's a lot of buttons on the wheel. That was one thing I noticed. Maybe a little bit too many buttons. And the gauges are fully digital in this one. I think it's a 10.25-inch display. They're not that customizable, but there is a bunch of information that you can look at. I just leave it on the speedometer. And the quality is nice, but I'm kind of old school because I kind of like analog gauges a little bit more. You know, pretty analog gauges. Anyways, something else that comes with the N is the seats. And this is probably one of my top 5 favorite things about this car. They're really comfortable and very supportive for most sizes of people. The driver's seat is full power, and it surprised me to discover that this has 2-way lumbar, but the passenger seat is manual. Both of these seats are heated though. You know, it's also weird, there's a downhill assist button, downhill brake control. This is a front-wheel drive hatch, like it only has like 6 inches of ground clearance, so you're not really going to be going down steep hills with this. I actually really like Hyundai's infotainment. It's simple, there's not too many menus, it's not overwhelming. To me, this is a lot better than some of the other systems out there. You have Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, but only wired in this one. But the screen is extremely responsive, the resolution is great. I just use CarPlay mostly, so I'm pretty much set. There is also a whole page dedicated to the N mode, and it shows all kinds of information, like how hard you're pressing on the brake, the RPMs, the gear that you're in, so many things. This thing also has launch control, which we will be trying a little bit later. And there's a bunch of hard touch buttons with a volume and tuning knob, which is great. Climate control is single zone, but it is automatic. It's honestly all I need. All hard touch buttons on the bottom and very simple. I like it. Down below there's just some storage, 2 power outlets, a USB port that supports the Apple CarPlay or Android Auto. This also has Qi wireless charging. To the left of the shifter is the drive mode select, and it changes what the gauges look like, and of course it changes the whole dynamic of the car. Wow, you can actually turn off traction control and stability control completely, and then, you know, turn it off too. But also something with the N, this is what makes me wish I had it in the winter: a handbrake, a proper handbrake. There's also 2 cup holders, an armrest, which it's okay, and a center console, which is about, you know, averagely sized, but there's no USB ports or outlets in there. Now, one thing I guess I'd call a quirk in this thing is the rear view mirror. Now, it looks like an auto-dimming mirror because it's thick and it has buttons on it, but it actually isn't. That just controls the Hyundai, I think it's called Blue Link, but it's a manually dimming mirror. Okay, so I'm pretty excited about showing you guys how this thing performs. I'm on gravel right now, so this isn't how stiff it does ride. But even in eco mode, which I am in right now, it does ride pretty stiff. But, you know, it's something I kind of would expect from a sporty car. But in town, like driving this in DC, it's really not that fun because you're getting, you know, jostled around. But when you're driving it normally, because I'm not going to be doing it that often, it's quiet, it's smooth. Like on the highway, it's great. We might get on the highway later today, but it's a very refined feeling car. It does not feel like it's a, you know, more affordable option. It has a weight to it that makes it feel kind of like a luxury car or just something that's a little bit more premium. Now I'm gonna put myself in N mode now. First gear. Yeah, it's kind of violent. And then I don't know if you can hear the pops. Like, this car is just like, now, of course, I mean, when I first got in this, I was like, oh my God, a Kona N. It's really fast. I mean, and it is a fast car. It does feel fast, but now that, you know, I'm kind of, you know, sobered up from the giddiness, the novelty has kind of worn off, but not in a way that I don't like it. It's just not like it's the fire-breathing monster that I was like, you know, fanboying about the night I got it. Now, I would be taking the normal way that I take when I like to show the handling of a car, but there's so many people on the road today because it's 2:30. So let's go this way. Wow, it got squirrely on me. The tires are cold. I got in a little bit too hot because I felt it get a little bit loose. I guess I have to give it some warm-up rounds. But the handling is very sharp. But this is what I mean. Like, I felt it just like, you know, kind of, you know? But it is a great car to just like bomb around in. But you can see I'm in N mode and it's very stiff. I'm not even exaggerating how much I'm bouncing, and I'm sure the camera's bouncing just as much. God, one thing I did want to show is how, I don't want to say bad, but the turning circle in this is pretty wide. I think it's about 38 feet, which feels wider than even my Honda Passport. It's hard to drive this thing smooth. This road is fucked. Let's put it in eco mode just while, you know, this road is rough. And it does civilize it. You can see it's quieter, but it still is a little bit stiff, but it's quick. And it's shit. That E-diff really works well too. Wow, it popped real loud. Yeah. The front diff. It feels like a little race car, but I really am getting thrown around. because like, I know it's a lot of me being quiet, but I think it emphasizes how this thing drives. It's it's kind of violent, but it's really fun. Like, this car encourages you to be full throttle around a corner, and there's no other way to describe it than just drive it, because it's really like magic how the e-diff works, because you can feel it like, you know, like pull you around the corner. It's very intoxicating. I want to try launch control. And when boost comes in, the downshifts are very quick. Like, I feel like I'm Ken Block, you know? It's really good. Yeah, the tires and brakes have warmed up. You do have to give it some time. But you can really just ride through a corner, and it just takes it so well. Okay, last of the twisty roads. It's really like, I think I know what I did. This car has a little bit like at the limit, and you know, it has liftoff understeer, and what you need to do to combat that is keep it in a low gear and let the e-diff work. God, it really is like a little race car. Goodness me. And then it downshifts and bangs up. But it is stiff. I think it's messed with the camera. This car is something else, because it really comes into its own on a back road. Because if you're just commuting with this, you'll get bored of it. I got bored of it commuting with it, because driving, you know, when you're doing like 30 is not fun. That's fun. And that, my friends, is a look and a bit of a hoon with the 2022 Hyundai Kona N. I really enjoyed this car. I'm hoping that there's enough time to get an Elantra N before it really starts to get cold, because this thing, you can already see how much wheel hop it has already, so I can't imagine the Elantra. But thank you for watching this video. Stay tuned for many more videos just like this. Thank you for liking, commenting, and subscribing, and all the support, and you know, all the likes and all the weird and fun comments to read. But I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye, peeps.